Captain Marcus Vale stared at the holographic display aboard the human vessel Defiant, watching alien ships glide past with barely a glance. For 3 decades, humanity had been the galaxy's laughingstock. The Zephyrian Empire called them primitive meatbags, while the crystalline Nexari dismissed humans as carbon-based curiosities. Even the smallest alien civilizations treated Earth's children like cosmic janitors, fit only for menial labor and cargo hauling. The galactic community had established a simple hierarchy. At the top sat the ancient Vorthak, masters of psionic warfare who could crush minds with mere thoughts. Below them, the technologically superior Nexari controlled trade routes with their quantum manipulation abilities. The militant Zephyrians dominated military contracts with their living metal ships that could reshape themselves mid-battle. And at the very bottom, scrambling for scraps, were the humans. Marcus had spent 15 years commanding supply runs between backwater colonies, watching his crew's morale sink with each condescending interaction. His navigator, Lieutenant James Porter, had been denied entry to 3 different spaceports simply for being human. Engineer Rebecca Torres couldn't purchase advanced components because alien vendors claimed humans wouldn't understand their complexity. Even their communications officer, Tom Bradley, had been mocked by Zephyrian officials who called his translation attempts adorably primitive. The breaking point came during a routine fuel stop at Nexus Station. A Vorthak merchant, tentacles writhing with amusement, telepathically projected insults directly into Marcus's mind. "Your species amuses us, little ape, playing with ships like children with toys. Perhaps in another 1,000,000 years you might evolve beyond your current limitations." But everything changed when a distress signal pierced through space from the Epsilon sector. The transmission was garbled, ancient, and somehow familiar. Against direct orders from Earth Command, Marcus diverted the Defiant toward the signal's source. What they found defied explanation. A massive structure floating in the void, clearly artificial, emanating energy signatures that made their instruments scream warnings. The structure wasn't alien. Every curve, every line, every mathematical proportion screamed of human origin, yet it predated Earth's first spaceflight by millennia. Ancient symbols covered its hull, symbols that Torres recognized from Earth's oldest archaeological sites. Sumerian cuneiform, mixed with Proto-Celtic runes and hieroglyphs that shouldn't exist. As the Defiant approached, the structure responded. Lights began pulsing in sequence, creating patterns that Porter's navigation systems interpreted as coordinates. Not to stars they knew, but to locations marked on no galactic chart. The structure was a beacon, a message left by someone who knew humans would eventually find it. Inside the crew quarters, Bradley intercepted a coded transmission meant for human ears only. The message was simple but earth-shattering. "The children have returned. Activate the archive. Remember who you were." The galaxy had been wrong about humanity. They weren't newcomers struggling to find their place among established civilizations. They were the heirs to something far older and infinitely more powerful than anyone imagined. The Defiant's boarding party consisted of Marcus, Torres, and 2 security officers, Sergeant Mike Harrison and Corporal Lisa Chen. As they approached the ancient structure's docking bay, their equipment registered impossible readings. The hull material was a metallic compound that Earth's periodic table couldn't classify, yet it welcomed their ship's docking clamps as if designed specifically for human vessels. Inside, gravity held steady at Earth normal, and the atmosphere was perfectly breathable. The corridors stretched endlessly in both directions, lined with walls that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Torres ran her scanner along the surfaces, her hands trembling as the readings confirmed her growing suspicions. The mathematical constants embedded in the architecture matched Earth's golden ratio. The measurements aligned with human proportions, and the technology signature was undeniably familiar. "Captain," Torres whispered, her voice echoing strangely. "In the vast halls, this isn't just human-built, it's built by humans. The power core I'm reading, it's generating energy using principles our greatest scientists are just beginning to theorize. Whoever made this was centuries, maybe millennia ahead of our current technology. They followed glowing pathways deeper into the structure until they reached a central chamber dominated by a massive holographic display. As they entered, the room came alive. Lights cascaded across the walls in complex patterns, and suddenly the air filled with images of a civilization that took their breath away. Humans in advanced armor walked through cities that floated among the stars. Massive fleets of ships, clearly human in design, but far beyond anything modern Earth could produce, engaged in battles that reshaped entire solar systems. The holographic figures moved with purpose and authority, commanding respect from species that looked remarkably like the modern galaxy's dominant races. The Vorthak, Nexari and Zephyrians were there, but as junior partners, not masters. At conferences and diplomatic meetings, alien ambassadors bowed before human leaders. In the trading posts, alien merchants competed desperately for human attention and approval. Harrison, typically skeptical of anything unexplained, stared at the displays with growing wonder. So if these records are accurate, humanity didn't just participate in galactic civilization, we led it. These images show human colonies on worlds that are now claimed by other species. They show human technology that makes current alien tech look like stone tools. The display shifted, showing a great catastrophe. Human worlds burning, vast fleets scattered to the cosmic winds, and populations fleeing to hidden sanctuaries. But this wasn't conquest by alien forces. The destruction came from within, human fighting human in a civil war so devastating it nearly wiped their species from existence. The surviving humans made a terrible choice. They would forget their past, hide their capabilities, and rebuild slowly from primitive beginnings rather than risk another apocalyptic conflict. Suddenly, the chamber's main console activated. Chen approached cautiously, her fingers hovering over controls that seemed to recognize her touch. Words appeared in ancient human languages, slowly translating into modern English. Memory banks activated. Genetic markers confirmed. Welcome home, children of Earth. The time of hiding is ending. Your enemies have grown weak from comfort, while you have grown strong from struggle. Marcus felt something stirring in his mind, not the invasive telepathy of the Vorthak, but something deeper and more familiar. Memories that weren't his own began surfacing. Star maps to worlds humanity had once called home, tactical knowledge of species they'd once commanded, and most importantly, the locations of other hidden archives scattered throughout the galaxy. News of humanity's discovery spread through the galaxy like wildfire, but not through official channels. The Defiance transmissions had been intercepted by intelligence networks that had monitored human activities for decades. What started as routine surveillance of a primitive species had become an emergency that threatened the very foundation of galactic power structures. On the Vorthak homeworld of Seeketh, the High Telepaths convened their first emergency council. In 3 centuries, ancient Vorthak named Zixthul, whose mind had touched the cosmos for over 2 millennia, projected his thoughts to the assembled council with barely contained fear. The humans have found the first archive. Our ancestors' warnings were not myths. The Terran Dominion was not destroyed. It was dormant. If they access the full records, if they remember what they once were, the balance of power that has kept peace for 2,000 years will crumble. In the crystalline cities of the Nexari homeworld, quantum computers calculated millions of probability matrices in seconds, and every scenario ended the same way: chaos. Nexari Prime Minister Veltar, her crystalline form flickering with anxiety-induced energy discharges, addressed the High Council. The archaeological evidence we've suppressed for centuries is becoming impossible to hide. Human ruins on 43 worlds we claim as originally ours. Technology caches that predate our earliest civilizations. If the humans remember their true history, they'll demand the return of worlds we've built our empire upon. The Zephyrian War Council met aboard their flagship, Bloodspear, a living vessel that pulsed with its pilot's emotions. General Krax, his metallic skin reflecting the anger of his symbiotic ship, slammed his fist against the navigation console. We've built our military doctrine around the assumption that humans are weak, scattered, and technologically inferior. But the archives suggest they once commanded fleets that could dismantle stars. Our intelligence reports indicate they've already begun excavating sites on 12 different worlds. Each discovery makes them stronger, more confident. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiant, Marcus and his crew worked feverishly to decode the archives' data streams. Torres had interfaced her neural implant directly with the alien technology, risking her sanity to download centuries of suppressed history. What she found changed everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. "Captain," Torres said, her eyes glowing with residual energy from the neural link, "the archive contains star charts to over 300 worlds that were once human colonies. Most are now occupied by other species, but the foundational infrastructure, the deep core facilities, the planetary defense networks, the resource extraction systems, they're all still there, waiting for human genetic codes to reactivate them." Porter, studying the navigation data, made an even more startling discovery. "Sir, these coordinates don't just show former human worlds, they show a network. The entire galaxy is connected by quantum tunnels that only respond to human neural patterns. If we can activate even a fraction of these pathways, we could move ships instantly between any 2 points in known space. The strategic advantage would be insurmountable, but the most shocking revelation came from Bradley's communication intercepts. Alien intelligence services weren't just monitoring human activities. They were actively working to prevent human advancement. Trade restrictions, denied access to certain technologies, diplomatic isolation, even the mocking attitudes they'd endured for decades. It was all orchestrated. The galaxy's major powers had known the truth about humanity's past and had spent centuries ensuring humans never rediscovered their heritage. As the Defiant prepared to leave the archive with their precious data, they detected massive fleet movements. Throughout the galaxy, the major powers were mobilizing for war, not against each other, but against the possibility of human resurgence. The time for hiding was over. Earth Command's emergency session brought together every human military leader, scientist, and politician in the solar system. The revelation that humanity once ruled the galaxy as the Terran Dominion had shattered every assumption about their species' place in the universe. Admiral Patricia Stone, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, stood before the assembled council with a gravity that silenced even the most skeptical voices. "The evidence is irrefutable," Stone declared, her voice carrying the weight of destiny. "For 2,000 years, we've accepted the role of cosmic underdogs. But the archives prove we're not newcomers to galactic civilization. We're its founders, returning from exile. The question now is what we do with this knowledge." Dr. Michael Reeves, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, presented findings that made even seasoned politicians gasp. "We've identified human artifacts on 57 worlds currently claimed by other species. Not trade goods or cultural exchanges, but infrastructure, power plants, terraforming equipment, and defensive installations that predate the claimed first settlements by thousands of years. These worlds aren't alien colonies, they're stolen human territory. The political implications were staggering, but the military possibilities were even more significant. Colonel Diana Foster, head of Earth's Special Operations, outlined humanity's new strategic position. The Archive's technology downloads have already revolutionized our capabilities. Our prototype vessels now incorporate power systems that exceed alien standards by orders of magnitude. Our weapons can penetrate energy shields that have protected alien fleets for centuries. Most importantly, we've gained access to the Quantum Gate network, a transportation system that spans the galaxy and responds only to human operators. As Earth's leaders debated their response, alien intelligence networks worked desperately to prevent human resurgence. Vorthak telepaths attempted to infiltrate human minds and steal archive data, but they discovered something unexpected. Prolonged exposure to the ancient technology had awakened latent psionic abilities in humans that surpassed even Vorthak capabilities. Engineer Torres, still linked to the archive systems, had begun demonstrating telepathic powers that could breach alien mental defenses. The Nexari tried economic warfare, attempting to crash human trade networks and strand their ships without fuel or supplies. But Porter's navigation team had already begun using the quantum gates, allowing human vessels to bypass traditional trade routes entirely. Earth's merchant fleet could now reach any system instantaneously, breaking the monopolies that had kept humanity economically dependent. The Zephyrians prepared for direct military confrontation, mobilizing their most powerful war fleets and positioning them around human colonies. But General Stone had anticipated this move. Using archive data, human engineers had begun reactivating ancient defense networks on 43 worlds. Planetary shields that had laid dormant for millennia blazed to life, protecting human settlements with energy barriers that alien weapons couldn't penetrate. The first test came when a Zephyrian battle group attempted to blockade the human colony on Kepler 442b. As their ships moved into position, expecting easy victory against primitive human defenses, the planet's ancient orbital platforms activated. Weapons that predated current galactic technology tore through Zephyrian shields as if they were paper. The entire battle group was destroyed in less than 10 minutes, with only a single escape pod surviving to carry word of humanity's awakening power. But the most significant change was psychological. For decades, humans had approached alien species with deference, accepting inferior treatment as their natural place in the galactic order. Now, as the truth spread through human colonies and Earth's population, that deference transformed into righteous anger. Humanity hadn't forgotten how to fight. They had simply forgotten they were warriors. Captain Marcus, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of Earth's first new battleship, the Reclamation. Built using archive technology, it represented the first human warship designed for conquest rather than defense. As he stared at the star charts showing former human worlds now occupied by alien species, Marcus felt the weight of 2,000 years of suppressed heritage settling on his shoulders. "We're not going to ask for our worlds back," Marcus told his fleet commanders. "We're going to take them." The first phase of humanity's reclamation began simultaneously across 12 star systems. Human fleets, now equipped with technology that made alien vessels look like antiques, emerged from quantum gates without warning. The aliens had grown comfortable in their stolen territories, confident that humanity would never threaten their dominion. That confidence shattered in the first hour of humanity's return. Admiral Marcus led the assault on Proxima Centauri III, a world the Nexari had claimed for 8 centuries, but which archived records showed as New Geneva, humanity's second oldest colony. The Nexari Defense Fleet, composed of 50 crystalline vessels, moved to intercept the human task force. What they encountered defied their understanding of physics. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, striking from impossible angles, with weapons that bypassed their quantum shields entirely. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the Nexari fleet was either destroyed or fleeing, and New Geneva's ancient human population centers were reactivating after nearly 2 millennia of dormancy. The planet's indigenous human descendants, thought extinct by galactic historians, emerged from underground cities where they had preserved their ancestors' culture. Their first transmission to Admiral Marcus was simple: "Welcome home." On Vega Prime, formerly the human colony of Haven's Rest, Admiral Stone faced the Vorthak's 7th Psionic Legion. The Vorthak had built their greatest telepathic academy on the ruins of a human university, using the planet's natural psychic amplification fields to train their mental warriors. They expected to crush the human attackers with overwhelming telepathic force. Instead, they discovered that humans who had been exposed to archive technology possessed psionic abilities that evolution alone couldn't explain. Engineer Torres, now serving as Stone's psionic warfare specialist, engaged the Vorthak high telepath Morgoth in direct mental combat. The alien, with 3,000 years of psychic training, found himself overwhelmed by memories and knowledge that spanned galactic ages. Torres didn't just defeat him. She absorbed his knowledge, gaining insights into Vorthak society that revealed their deepest fears and weaknesses. The Zephyrian response was predictably violent. General Krax led a massive armada to retake what they called the stolen systems, intending to crush humanity's resurgence through overwhelming force. His fleet of 300 living ships, each bonded to a Zephyrian pilot, represented the largest military force assembled in 50 years. They expected to face desperate human defenders clinging to primitive tactics. Instead, they encountered the full might of humanity's awakened heritage. The human fleet was smaller, only 80 ships, but each vessel was a masterpiece of ancient technology enhanced by modern innovation. Captain Bradley, now commanding the battleship Vengeance, led the human fleet in a maneuver that seemed impossible. His ships formed a three-dimensional combat formation that existed partially outside normal space, allowing them to attack from directions that simply didn't exist in conventional warfare. The battle for the Rigel system became known as the Day of Reckoning. Zephyrian living ships, creatures that had dominated space warfare for centuries, found themselves outmaneuvered by human vessels that moved like thoughts made manifest. Their metallic hulls, which could reshape themselves to deflect any known weapon, proved vulnerable to human energy projectors that operated on principles the aliens couldn't comprehend. General Krax's flagship, the mighty Worldbreaker, fell when Captain Foster's strike team teleported directly into its command center using personal quantum gates. The Zephyrian general, who had conquered 17 star systems and never known defeat, found himself facing humans who fought with a precision and ruthlessness that spoke of genetic memory stretching back to humanity's warrior past. As news of humanity's victories spread throughout the galaxy, the political landscape shifted dramatically. Species that had allied themselves with the major powers began reconsidering their positions. The Altarian merchant guilds, who had long served Nexari interests, sent secret envoys to Earth offering trade agreements. The Tau Ceti Defensive Alliance, tired of paying tribute to Vorthak overlords, declared neutrality and requested human protection. But the most significant change was within humanity itself. The psychological transformation that had begun with the Archive's discovery was now complete. Humans across the galaxy stood taller, spoke with authority, and demanded the respect their ancestors had once commanded. The species that had been mocked as primitive apes had remembered they were the heirs of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. Admiral Marcus, now designated Supreme Commander of the Terran Reclamation Force, stood before a holographic assembly of human leaders from across known space. Behind him, the star chart showed 17 systems already reclaimed, with dozens more preparing for liberation. The red zones indicating alien occupation were shrinking daily, replaced by the blue markers of renewed human control. "This is only the beginning," Marcus declared to the assembled crowd. "For 2,000 years, we've lived as refugees in our own galaxy. No more. The children of Earth have come home, and the stars remember our name. The Terran Dominion rises again, and the galaxy will learn what it means to face humanity unleashed." The age of humanity's humiliation was over. The age of their supremacy had begun.